Alright everyone, Lego here with a small mini project again, another shadow project, and we'll jump straight into it. As always, I'm starting out here with a manual trace because I need the silhouette to figure out how much space I have to work with. It's a simple shadow of a screenshot I grabbed on the internet because I was lazy, and it was very important to me that it figured Ellie in the winter chapter with the rifle. That's sort of important to the conversation that I'm basing this off of. And I'm tracing the core silhouette of the profile. Then I'm tracing select elements of the gun outline separately because I have a feeling that I want to highlight them in the same way I did the Edward Kenway project, so I can give that a little bit of extra attention. I'm also, as is my now normal usage, doing the hair separate because it gives me a lot more control and it gives a better end result. I'm never going back to the way I did hair before. This is so much better, in my opinion. But tracing up some extra bits of hair here and there, getting that fairly accurate, or at least, visibly good enough. I'm now looking at a little bit of the rifle. I did a quick mock-up of the outline, and then I need to tweak some of the lines, some of the effects to get the width that I like across the various elements, so it looks kind of stylistic, and not just some flat, boring lines. I'm paying a little bit of attention to the bolt handle because that's a pretty key characteristic of the bolt action rifle. And then I am outlining a little bit of the trigger guard and the barrel itself with some of the bits and bobs to stick up. And I was not quite content with how they turned out the first time around. It was a bit too wobbly, a bit too weirdly shaped. It didn't seem very intentional. So second go around, I made some better angled outlines, so it looks more deliberate, like a machined part instead of a gooey, gobbly thing with a lot of round lines. I extended the barrel a little bit because it's out of frame, and I decided it had to be a little bit longer. Didn't look it otherwise it looked weird, and now I'm pretty much happy with most of the power strokes here. And adding a little bit to our torso so we don't get such a flat finish at the bottom. Yeah, I'm fairly happy with that. The last second here, I did do some two tones because I think I need a little bit of the hand. That's really the driving basis of this. I need some of the hand because that is going to look really weird otherwise. That's the only explanation I have for why I cut the profile of the rifle the way I did. So I need a little bit of the hand, and at the same time I did take a little bit of her face and her neck to show the depth of what we're looking at here. But I don't want to pay attention to it. I don't want to call attention to it. I just want it to be there to make this blob seem humanoid. And I do think it adds a little bit to this upcoming quote to be able to see her face and her facial expression. We just get a ghost off there to sort of connect that to the quote that I'm doing now. You can of course follow along if you want to pause your screen and read out for yourself. There's not a lot to it. It's CC. It's a very nice, very easy, very straightforward script, read from left to right, outside to in, and really it's a classic. It's an old but good script in a way, and I've used it extensively in the past for the various other Last of Us projects that I've made. So in my mind, at least, a lot of the time, I'll default to CC when I do The Last of Us because it just feels like it's intricately connected to these characters in this universe by now, in my mind, and through my project. So really, CC is the go-to script I use for The Last of Us now, just through sheer usage in the past. With one or two twists. One of them is a twist you'll see right now, which is a pair of parallel lines instead of the usual lines radiating out from center. This was a little bit of an experiment, a little bit of a reach. I don't think it can be mistaken for anything else, and I did run it through one of my fellow creators, but on the whole, I think I'm in the right here in a sense that it can't really be misconstrued as anything else. It can't be punctuation. It can't be another line modifier because there aren't any other line modifiers. These are the only ones existing. So even though it's a little bit off the books, a little bit unusual, I do think it works out, and I'm sticking to it until I get yelled at severely otherwise. And with the amount of people that know CC, I don't think that's likely, to be frank. So otherwise, it's pretty much vanilla CC because there's no need to mess with the formula. It works very well. I'm going to make one other little liberty, which you're seeing right now, a pair of lines that are tangent to the inner bound instead of the usual radiant lines. This is the biggest stretch I've made, I think, in years regarding CC. And again, I did run it through some people, and one of which was happy, or at least kind enough to give some feedback. And I decided to go with it because, again, it's fairly hard to make it into another letter entirely. So I hope I'm in the clear, especially if people have been primed to think a little bit outside the box by the previous parallel line situation. So in that regard, I think I'm, if not good to go, then at least I've covered my bases enough that I should be able to get away with this. But that was one sentence done, and we're now finishing off with the last 4 words of the text here. I've had a lot of fun with this, even though it's a very short project. Sometimes short is good, and I don't have the time to commit to something really big right now. Next week I'll be totally off grid, and I just really wanted to do something today, and this is why you see this. It's a short project, less than 2 hours it actually took, all in all, to make this small text, and the simple silhouette and the abstract background is not really anything to snuff at either. So really, short and sweet is the term for the day. Now, the only part of CC that really gets interesting, like really interesting, is when you split up words. You can do that in the same way you can do the word splitting feature in most frequently in Doctor's Cut, I think. But you also technically get the same thing in Diflux if you ignore the boundaries. And it basically just consists of splitting up the word into smaller chunks and then having them overlap. That's the gist of it. And it's not often you get to indulge in that, but here I did indulge a little bit to split up some of the bigger words to make it more interesting. Otherwise, it's just one big concentric mess, which is fair. I've done that before, both in CC and in Timekeepers, but it's also nice enough to observe the rules and really make something a little bit out of the ordinary. Now, we are arranging the text here, as I said, from left to right, and top to bottom in this case, because there's 2 sentences. And I'm just trying to arrange them nicely relative to the silhouette in the corner. And I've made a rudimentary background here to fit in my text as a boundary. Now we're fitting a little bit with the actual background. I knew very little of what I wanted to do until this moment, but it clicked that I probably should do something wintry. We need some frost, we need some snow. It's pretty dark outside. There's not a lot of sun time, and this is what I ended up doing. I made some snowy backgrounds. I made a little bit of shadow in the corner to hide the lack of her legs, to sort of make her blend into the background and just, yeah, disguise that thing. And then the last second I made a little bit of a texture at the background to really mesh nicely with the actual white puffs of cold air or frost or whatever that is. And it just blends together into a really nice background. Clear to see text, nice to see silhouette, easy to recognize character. Really, what more could you want? And with those words, I will see you another time. Bye.